Coming up tonight on YCU News, former U.S. Senator Bob Smith announces his plan to challenge Shaheen in the next election. King Arthur Flour gives YCU the latest on holiday baking. And changing weather leads to increasing amounts of auto accidents. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCU, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth-Lake Sunapee region and central Vermont. News, sports, weather, public affairs, and all that's happening in our area. The news on YCU, your local view.
Good evening, and welcome to this Monday edition of YCU News. I'm Rose Spillman. Another Republican candidate is announcing an intention to seek the U.S. Senate seat now held by Jeanne Shaheen. Bob Smith, a summer resident of Tufton Borough in the New Hampshire Lakes region, also is a former U.S. Senator. Smith now lives full-time in Florida. He would need to move back to New Hampshire if he is serious about entering the race. Over the weekend, Jim Rubens, who also seeks Shaheen's seat, welcomed another challenger to Shaheen. Republican candidate Karen Testerman also is running for Shaheen's seat. There's a reason to look forward to the longer nights of the winter season. The darker the night, the better the lights adorning homes, trees, and businesses stand out better. One of the best places to view and enjoy winter holiday nights is at La Salette Shrine in Enfield, New Hampshire.
My first impression when I first drove up here was how amazing this really is. Keep Christ's birthday alive like this. It's beautiful.
It's a nice tradition. I noticed that all the sponsors of the community that support this, I think it's just a nice community event.
I grew up here, so I saw these lights growing up all the time, but we moved away to the seacoast, and now every time we make it a point to come back here.
To learn more about the nighttime display, visit www.lasaletteofenfield.org. All faiths are welcome. After the break, we'll hear about holiday baking from King Arthur Flour in Norwich, Vermont, and the auto accidents that have been increasing due to weather change.
The YCU News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCU News. I'm Rose Spillman. Holiday baking can take many forms, from the traditional Christmas log or the bush to Noel to cookies and pies. Any baker can have success. One of the best places in our area to learn how to bake is King Arthur Flour in Norwich, Vermont. With the holiday season upon us, YCU News decided to come out to King Arthur Flour in Norwich, Vermont to talk about this season's baked goods. What tips do you have for baking the best pies?
Well, I think the best pies start with the best crust. So when you're making crust, I like to use all butter because butter has great flavor. And when you're working the butter into the flour, you want to make sure that you have varying sizes. You want to have some really small bits of butter to create a tender crust and some larger bits of butter to create flakiness.
What pie would you suggest baking that's more simple for those of us who are less experienced?
I think an apple pie is a great place to start. Pretty much everyone loves to eat apple pie, and it's pretty forgiving in terms of getting the coordination between getting the crust baked really well and the filling baked simultaneously. So I think that's a great place to start.
What are the best pies for this holiday season?
I am a pretty traditional holiday baker. I like to stick with apple, pumpkin, pecan, sweet potato, maybe mincemeat too. But you can always put a little twist on them by changing out some of the spices that you put in. Maybe add a little cardamom to your apple pie.
What are some of the best holiday gifts that King Arthur has in its store?
Some of my favorites for pie baking include a silicone mat that gives you a template for rolling your pie crust.
What kind of flour do you suggest for baking pies?
My preference is using all-purpose flour. Our all-purpose flour will give you a nice tender crust. You can also use pastry flour as well. Just don't use bread flour or high gluten. Those could make a tough crust.
What are some of the newest or most interesting gadgets that King Arthur has for cooking?
Well, we have lots of gadgets. I like to always see the development of different gadgets. Like we have a new pastry blender. It doesn't look like the one your grandma had, but it works a lot better. We have rings that you can put on a rolling pin that help you to get an even thickness as you roll.
What's your favorite holiday pie?
My favorite holiday pie is apple pie, and I eat it all year round, but I especially love it during the holidays.
Does King Arthur have any new holiday gifts?
Well, we just started selling our own hand-dipped chocolates here that are made in our Norwich, Vermont store by 8th generation German pastry chef Wilhelm Wanders. And so that makes a great gift for anyone who loves chocolate. We have a toll-free number that you can call. It's called our Baker's Hotline. And real live people are staffed here to help you before, during, or after your bake. And we'll give you any advice. It doesn't have to be a King Arthur flour recipe. You can also email us your questions or live chat.
King Arthur Flour is located in Norwich, Vermont, off of exit 13 on I-91, and online at www.kingarthurflour.com. This is the time of year when weather changes can test even the most experienced driver. Cornish police report that since November, they have investigated 9 auto accidents, and 7 of those accidents took place in the past 7 days. These crashes and road runoffs caused at least $125,000 in damage, police say. Cornish's Route 120 is a beautiful roadway, yet it winds and dips along this stretch. It's not the road for a beginner driver. Of the November accidents, several involved new, young drivers. Police encourage parents not to let newly licensed drivers take the car out at night, especially in wintry driving conditions. Welcome back to YCU News. I'm Rose Spillman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next 5 days, and we'll take a look at some local college sports.
Thanks, Rose. Looks like the snow is taking a break this week. Tomorrow we'll have a high of 40 degrees with lows in the 20s. Wednesday will be a beautiful day to enjoy the outdoors, with sunny skies and highs and lows in the 30s. Thursday we'll have a high of 42 with lows in the 30s. Friday, don't forget your raincoat. We'll have a few showers with highs in the 40s and lows around 30 degrees. Saturday will cool down a bit to a high of 33 and a low of 22 degrees. If you're looking for some family holiday fun this weekend, head over to the Sunapee Harbor this Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. for the Sunapee Harbor Magic featuring hay rides, gingerbread cookie decorating, and Christmas stories. Let's look at some exciting college games that happened over the weekend. The UNH Wildcats football game that happened on Saturday turned out to be a great success for UNH. They won 45-7 against Lafayette in this first round playoff game. UNH now stands at 8 wins and 4 losses overall. UVM also won their weekend men's hockey game. They outscored Maine 5-2. There was no scoring in the first period, but soon after, Vermont scored its first goal with a teamwork play by H.T. Lenz, Anthony DeCenzo, and Connor Brickley. UVM continued the game with power play goals which brought them to a victory. UVM has won 4 games in a row. Their current standing is 4 wins, 4 losses, and no ties.
Thank you for joining us for this Monday edition of YCU News. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And you can watch our programs anytime online at www.ycunow.com. Be sure to tune in tomorrow to hear from Dr. James Wright, Professor of History at Dartmouth College. I'm Rose Spillman for YCU, your local view. Good night.